Hi, I'm Tyson.
I'm Colin.
I'm Ryan.
And I'm Adam.
And we're the Gamesmiths, and we're here to learn how to play Fantasy Feast, the winner of the Pan Jam, the 48-hour design contest.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Ryan's going to teach us the rules.
All right. Fantasy Feast. Time and time again, the villages rally the troops and gather bands of adventurers that are brave enough to ascend the mountainside in an attempt to slay the giant beasts that dwell there. Little do they know these beasts eagerly await their arrival as a delicious meal delivered straight to them. Their food certainly attempts to put up a fight, but it is all worth it as these massive creatures satisfy their hunger. In Fantasy Feast, players take on the role of giant fantasy creatures with empty stomachs. As waves of adventurers come and try to defeat them, each player will get picked from a variety of human delicacies to appease their hunger. Certain combinations taste and settle much better together, so players will need to carefully position each bite to maximize their enjoyment. Periodically, there will be an opportunity to consume leaders that provide specific opportunities for satisfaction. At the end of the game, the player whose creature is most satisfied in their meal will be the winner. So, we're going to set up by separating out our tokens here. Everybody's got their own unique creature board, which gives us our own kind of way to win. And then we have these leader tokens here that are kind of hidden. That'll give us some bonuses later. On your turn consists of 3 steps. Number 1, select adventure to consume. Number 2, place adventure in the stomach. And number 3, reveal a new adventure. Once your turn is complete, you pass to the next person. So the first thing you're going to do is select an adventure to consume. So we'll say it's my turn. And I will choose to consume this one. Now, there are a number of there are a number of these icons here, these swords and arrow icons here on the board, and those represent melee and ranged attackers. So when you eat an adventurer, you're going to take 1 damage for every sword, which is a melee unit within 1 space of it, and you are going to take damage for every ranged, which is a bow and arrow, within 2 spaces of it. So if I were to take
diagonally.
Right. So if I were to take this one, yeah, and it's everything. There's no real diagonal in this game. Everything. So if I were to take this one, I would not take damage from this because it's 1 away, not 2 away. But this one is 1, 2 away, and this one here is 1, 2 away. So I would take 2 damage if I wanted to take this. And we'll get to what damage does in a second. But essentially, that's the first thing you're going to do is pick the adventure you want. So I think we actually have it set up so there's no way I can take a tile without taking damage.
No, this guy.
That guy?
Sword won't
No.
hold
This guy
The
hits.
Oh,
open
okay.
attack.
Yeah, there's a bow and arrow that hits him there. So, yeah, I actually don't think we have a spot that I can take without being hit.
But that one would do 1 damage.
Yeah.
A lot of them do.
We're gonna cheat and just move this up like that, and now there is a spot I can take without being damaged. So I would take this, and to place this adventure in my stomach, I am going to get the pieces that I need from here. So I need a helmet, an armor, and a hand. And so I have helmet, armor, and hand. And I'm going to arrange it in the same way that it's on this here. And then I simply kind of drop it down my stomach till it reaches the bottom. Now, if later I would say take something like this that was 3 long, that's going to be armor, shoe. Then when this falls down, when you hit another row, your things essentially will just break off and keep sliding all the way down. So they'll settle all the way down in the bottom of the stomach like that.
So sort of like Tetris, but your
Yeah.
piece doesn't maintain its structure. It breaks on the other
Dr.
pieces.
Mario-esque.
Yeah. And then if you take damage, you have to take a number of damage tokens, which are these guys here, equal to the amount of damage they take, and then drop them in the stomach 1 at a time. So this, essentially, before I took If I were to take this one here, I would take 1 damage because of it. And before I took these 2 boots, I'd take this damage. I would take 2 damage from that one. So I'd take 2 damage, and I would put it in my stomach like so, and kind of slide it down to a spot. There are some of these adventurers that have the swap ability. Nailed it. If you take something like that, it allows you to swap. So let's say I was going to get points for having a large amount of armor there. I would take this swappy token here, and then I could swap 2 spots, or two adjacent tokens, basically. I can just switch their spot. And now I've got this 3 combo of armor, assuming that does something for me. Then the army marches forward
To fill the empty spot.
to fill the empty spot, and then you replace the adventurer with somebody new in the back there. And so that's essentially a turn. Now, you'll notice that some of these cards have crowns on them. These are draft cards. And, these aren't draft. They're draft currency, essentially. There are draft cards in the deck, like this guy. And when they're revealed, we'll have the opportunity to draft a leader, which essentially means we're going to flip over 5 of these tokens, 1 more than we have players. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then we will, depending on essentially bidding for them based on the number of crowns that we have on minions that we've taken in previous rounds. So you kind of go around, you count up the number of crowns. I'm the only one with the crown right now because I'm the only one doing anything because I'm explaining the rules. So I get to go first. I would pick this, and then it would go, since none of you have any crowns, it would just kind of go in order around. Then we take all of these and we discard them, so we essentially lose the crowns that we have saved up and have to start saving up more crowns for the next draft.
In turn order's tiebreaker.
Correct.
So if you and I both have 1 crown, it's whoever.
Correct. Actually, the first tiebreaker is the player with least damage tiles in their stomach goes first. And then after that, if it's still tied, then it goes clockwise based on those players. What the leader's tile will do, the first one will kind of get one in your grip. And you're actually going to start with one up here in your grip. Everyone will start with 1 leader tile up there. And then after you take your first one in a draft, it'll come here and it'll knock that leader tile out into your stomach. And then you get to place it. All the leader tiles are different. We'll go over them as they come up in the game. But this one is essentially, 2 points for every boot that is diagonal from it. So you'd want to be careful where you place this guy and set him down at a spot where you could, kind of line a lot of boots up diagonally. So I know there's one that's armor in a straight line for points, and that would be this guy right here, and that's what I try and get and set it on top of this stack to score as many of that. So we'll go over these. There are a bunch of these, and we'll go over them as we're playing the game. But essentially, you'll get a chance to draft these, and these will all score you bonus points and kind of form your win strategy as the game's going.
But correct me if I'm wrong, but the only ways you can possibly score victory points are through your
Creature
ability and these leader tokens.
Correct.
So that's the only way you score points. So it's very strategic on which leader you take and where
Correct.
you position it in your stomach.
Yes. So, we did the drafting leaders. That knocks them in. So then the game ends once one creature's stomach is completely full. Each other player has 1 more turn before the game ends. If a draft card is drawn during this round, discard it and keep playing. Well, once each player has finished their turn, play proceeds to scoring. Overall satisfaction from the meal is determined by the leader tiles in the creature's stomach, like we just talked about, as well as the personal craving on your board, which is that up there. And they're written up there. If you have any questions, ask me. We have more. We have clarifications in here. And then add every damage tile that you have right here. that is adjacent to another damage tile subtracts 1 from the creature's final score. So if I have 2 and they're right next to each other, that's -1 for this one since it's touching another one, and that's -1 for this one since it's touching another one. If I were to separate them like this, I'd still have 2 damage, but I would get no negative points because they're not touching. This one's 0, not touching. This one's 0, not touching. So you really just got to avoid having clumps of damages. You know, everybody eats bad stuff, but when it gets clumped down there, that's when you got a problem.
Indigestion.
So after all leader tiles, personal cravings, and damage tiles are tallied, the creature with the most points is the most satisfied, and the player who controls that creature is the winner. So yeah, any questions?
I don't have any questions about
Yeah,
the
I
rules.
don't either.
Okay. Great. Well, those are the rules, and we'll see you in the game.